Blog Talk Radio.
Across the country and around the world, streaming live on the internet, it's Real Estate Coaching Radio, bringing you the latest news, interviews, and secrets of the top producers. Hosted by award-winning real estate coaches, Tim and Julie Harris.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Tim Ventura, filling in for Tim and Julie Harris, and welcome back to Casual Friday on Real Estate Coaching Radio. We are talking about tech, and this week we're talking about 3D virtual tours that Redfin is rolling out for all of their listings, starting on the 28 listings in the Seattle area where Redfin's headquarters is based. Why this topic? Well, all the tech stories lately seem like they've really centered around the Zillow Trulia merger, and I don't know, some other kind of technopolitics that involve reshuffling a limited number of online buyer leads around so that somebody can skim off the margins. Basically, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, people are using the internet more than ever to buy real estate. I think that we're all aware of that. But at the same time, there's only a certain amount of people who are interested in buying homes at any given time. And so a lot of this comes down to reshuffling. And somewhere along the way, it feels like the tech industry just kind of forgot about the user experience in order to focus on basically just squeezing agents and brokers. So this story talks about a fundamental improvement to the online buying experience that may, in fact, actually transform the way people buy homes online, and that's why I thought it was interesting. Okay, so this is a live show. Our call-in number is 347-857-1195, or write me questions at realestatecoachingradio.com. Also, if you haven't done so already, take a moment to visit freecoachingcallsforagents.com and schedule your appointment for a free one-on-one coaching call with a trained professional real estate coach from our staff, including Tim or Julie Harris. We have just completed a full overhaul of the website, so visit freecoachingcallsforagents.com to check it out. And, we are also in the middle of an overhaul of our main website at timandjulieharris.com. I would invite each and every one of you to just, zip on over there, take a look. Again, that's timandjulieharris.com, and take a look at what we're doing. Okay, so let me start out by reading you this story. I'm just going to kind of skim through and give you some of the overviews. This was on Inman today, and it really kind of caught my eye. It was entitled, All Redfin Listings to Feature 3D Virtual Tours. Now, I do have a link in our show description, so as you're listening to this on Blog Talk Radio, you can skim down there and click on that link. I believe it'll open in a new window, so you can continue to listen to the show as you read through this. And I would encourage you to visit that. I would encourage you to click that link and take a look at the 3D showcase example. The one they have listed here is for 5310 90th Avenue Southeast. Again, that's one of Redfin's Seattle listings. And if you click the button, which I will do and try and describe it for you in detail in a few seconds or a couple of minutes, but if you do that, you'll be able to see exactly what this 3D technology is doing. So Paul Hagee, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, a staff writer for Inman, wrote, Partnership with Matterport aimed at winning more listings. Redfin will be rolling out 3D virtual tours for all of its listings with the help of tech firm Matterport. Today, the Redfin 3D walkthrough tours are included on 28 active listings the tech-focused brokerage has in its hometown of Seattle. The feature will come to more Redfin-based Seattle homes in the next few days, said Redfin spokesman Carrie DeLue. In the coming months, Redfin will leverage Matterport's proprietary 3D camera and software to embed photorealistic virtual tours on all of its listings in more than the 29 markets where it currently operates as a brokerage and referral site, Delu said. Redfin 3D walkthrough tours will be embedded just under the photo well of the property detail pages on Redfin listed homes they're all listed on redfin.com. Now, going big on 3D virtual tours is Redfin's latest effort to grow the listing side of its business, which has lagged relative to its buyer side. Earlier this month, it rolled out the Home Dashboard, another tool to target sellers. The Home Dashboard gives sellers a real-time look at web traffic on their listings on Redfin and what agents are doing to get their home sold. Matterport took top honors in Realogy's second annual pitch competition, Forward, in June this year by wowing judges with its 3D virtual tour technology. The firm has pioneered a $4,500 3D camera and the software to stitch together a realistic virtual landscape of a home that allows users to navigate as they wish. In July, Matterport announced both a $16 million funding round with the debut of its 3D Showcase product that allows 3D models to work within web pages without the need for users to download special software. Agents like Ralph Marasco, an agent with Omaha, Nebraska-based CBS Home, currently use Matterport's technology to market their sellers' properties. The partnership between Redfin and Matterport dates back a couple of years, said Bill Brown, CEO of Matterport. The two firms have worked closely together over that time to refine Matterport's 3D technology for the real estate industry. Redfin is not an investor in Matterport. The firms also declined to discuss the specific terms of the partnership, but they did reveal that it is not exclusive. Other firms have helped Matterport shape its product, but none more than Redfin, Brown said. For example, Redfin's voice was a big factor in Matterport pushing to figure out how to create a high-quality photo experience in its 3D models. Both Redfin agents and field agents are going to use these Matterport cameras to scan homes, and then they're going to gather that raw footage that Matterport's software turns into its 3D models. Now, unlike agents at many brokerages, most Redfin agents work as salaried employees, not independent contractors. And let me see, they're talking a little bit about class action lawsuit. Okay, I see that. And the decision to focus on 3D tours rather than another solution like high-quality video was less about cost than about providing what Redfin considers to be a better experience for home shoppers. Unlike video, a 3D virtual tour allows users to explore parts of a home at their own speed and in the order they prefer. 3D virtual tours are on the verge of exploding as the costs to create them are in the process of going down from the tens of thousands of dollars to the tens of dollars, Brown said. Other firms are also working in the 3D space. In May, Redfin co-founder David Ericker, who's since left the firm and launched Surefield, seller-focused brokerage firm in Seattle with its own proprietary 3D virtual camera and software. Okay. And then it said Floored is another 3D virtual tech firm with a focus on real estate, and they apparently were the winner of Realogy's 2013 Forward competition. Okay, so that is what Paul Hagee wrote about this 3D virtual tour technology. Pretty interesting stuff. So again, you buy a special camera and you place it strategically in locations around the house. You press your shutter button. I believe it may automatically rotate as it shoots the photo. Basically, you just get out of the way and let it do its thing. Then you upload those photos, and in the case of Matterport, apparently they have kind of a cloud-based solution there where the stuff gets uploaded and then it's assembled and all mapped out for you on the fly. Now, there are a lot of unanswered questions, I guess. And so we're going to explore some of those today. I don't have all the answers, but I do have a few, and we do have lots of things that we'd like to learn more about. Now, clicking play on, again, this 5310 90th Avenue Southeast property, the one that's this is the demo in the Inman article. I'll tell you that the thing it starts out with is what they call a dollhouse view. And this is accessible at any time by clicking. It's got a couple little kind of shaded links at the bottom. This one's called View Dollhouse. It looks really neat. What this is it's a distance view of the entire property, all the photos that are kind of stitched together. It actually forms kind of a 3D interior view of the home. So if you could imagine the home as it sits without the walls, right? If the walls were just completely transparent, you could kind of look in and see things. And then, of course, you can move it around, you can rotate it. A lot of really interesting stuff that you can do there. This all comes out of these photos that are shot by the Matterport camera. So this dollhouse view, the reason they call it that is you're looking at it from a distance, and you're looking at it, it's 3D, so you can rotate it as you wish, but basically you're looking down into it at an angle. That's how it starts out. And so it does. It looks like you're looking into a child's dollhouse, except that this dollhouse is actually a real property, and this is composed of photos that are stitched together, taken by this camera. So the dollhouse view, just looking at this looks like a really good way to kind of get an idea of how the house is built. Now, in this case, again, this demo property that they have listed here, this is a 2-story home. And so the dollhouse view kind of helps you to understand really how the rooms and staircases and windows, because you can see them from the interior angles, how they all really fit into this space, into this 2-story structure that they have laid out. And again, this thing features everything. I mean, you're looking at, both floors, living room, den, dining room, kitchens, bathrooms, everything. I don't see a basement in this particular one, but I'm sure it's hiding in there somewhere. So this dollhouse view lets you see in a 3-dimensional way what the structure looks like, And I'll tell you, on my PC, and I have a pretty big monitor, you can zoom in here to get a better view, but really the idea is to show the structure, not really particular details. You can see details. I mean, you can see all the furniture and stuff like that. It's just, makes sense, right? It's kind of a small view, and when you condense it down and stick it in a 3D model, it gets smaller. So you're not going to use that to really look at details. You're just going to use that to kind of get an idea of the model plan for it. Now, they also have a floor plan view, and when you press that, again, this is using all those stitched photos. This thing basically takes that 3D model and just turns it into a 2-dimensional top-down. So you're looking at the floor plan. And I'm sure everybody in our audience today knows exactly what a floor plan looks like. So basically you're looking top-down, right? And you get to see the layout of it. Now, one of the interesting things, I think, and I don't see this in theirs, is, okay, we have a floor plan. This is a 2-story house. I'm only seeing the floor plan for the top story. Is there a way to zoom in? Or maybe the floor plan is just the top story. That's kind of an interesting one. Maybe that's kind of a design thing that they had to deal with, I guess, as they were working on it. And maybe they'll add something over time. Maybe they'll add kind of a plus or minus button to take you to different floors. But for the time being, unless I'm completely missing something, it appears that this floor plan view only shows the topmost floor. And then still, again, this is going to give you an idea of what the structure looks like, and I think it's very helpful. And it's composed of all of these photos that this camera shoots. Now, if you click the third little button down here, it's got a little image of a person walking, because that is your walkthrough button. This takes you into something that looks suspiciously like Google Earth. And I did a little bit of research on this, and I have a theory why, but we'll come back to that in a bit. So, again, we are zooming through our house, I'm sorry, not just Google Earth, Google Street View Maps. If you use Google Maps, if you ever do the Street View, which I believe is connected to Google Earth, you'll notice it has little positions where the camera is placed right around the map. I don't know if you've ever seen that. You go to Street View, you're looking at a property, or you're looking for a store or something like that. It's got lots of little grid shapes, and you click on the grid, and that's actually where the camera was set up, and so that's where the camera angles are at. This is the same way. We're inside of our house. We can move from room to room, and the way that we do that is we have circles on the floor of the room in different parts of the house. So I'm in the living room right now, and again, I know you can't see this, but I'm describing it as I go. And we've got 4 or 5 different little circles at different places on the floor. Now, if I click each one of those, it takes me to that position in the room, and of course, I have a complete 3D view, including the ceiling, including the floor, from any one of those angles. And so again, in this living room here, just taking a peek, it looks like we have 4 complete separate views of the same room. So this, for me, as a buyer, I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to get a really amazing at what this house looks like. And to exit this, and I'm just leaving the room in mind now, I'm also going to get that walkthrough. So I can click a circle in the hallway, exit that room, walk down the hallway. And again, we have 5 circles down a very long hallway, right? Very nice wood floor. Each one of those circles takes us to a different camera point. So I can literally walk through the house just by clicking around, and it feels like you're actually moving. And again, if you use Google Maps, Street View, or Google Earth, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't just snap from one position to the next. It kind of blurs and shades, and it feels like you're actually kind of walking through the house, which is exactly what they wanted. So Matterport, with this technology, has done an absolutely beautiful job putting this together. What they've basically done is taken something that I think we're all familiar with in terms of user experience, in terms of the Google Maps, and put that together into a true walkthrough that's going to give anyone viewing a house a much better view, than probably even a video would show. One of the nice things about this house is, number one, because it's loading photos, it's not going to take as much bandwidth as a video would. You always have a lot of trouble with video because online you've got these difficult choices to make. I mean, the biggest one is higher quality or accessible to more people, right? If you want to make it accessible to people who are on a DSL connection, then your video quality is really going to suffer. And in terms of, really getting your buyer interested, really giving them kind of, selling the sizzle, right? I think one of the challenges there is, do I want to have more buyers be able to see this, or do I want the ones on faster connections to really get excited about it? And this technology lets you bypass that. It's using photos. It's not using video. It still requires a lot of downloading. There's still work involved with it, but it is not the bandwidth hog that you might imagine from video. I think one of the other advantages, too, if you've shot video, is outtakes, right? If you're doing a walkthrough video, especially if you're explaining things, what happens if you goof up? What happens if you say the wrong thing? Then you're left with a bunch of difficult choices, like, should I reshoot this, or should I keep it? How do I splice this stuff together? I mean, video can get fairly complex depending on how well you want to do it. And again, as a salesperson for this, you have to make one heck of a presentation, right? You're selling the sizzle. So this eliminates that issue because you're taking you out of the equation and you're giving full control to the buyer, really. This empowers them in a way that video really, really just can't do, because they can walk through the house at their own speed, examine and investigate all of the features in that house. And, they don't have to fast forward through a part where maybe you're talking about, bathroom fixtures or something like that they may not be interested in. Perhaps it's intriguing to you. Perhaps the seller really wanted you to focus on that as a selling point. But, this gives them the opportunity to stay in control. And we're almost done zipping through this here. I do see a couple interesting angles here. I see one where it's actually the camera looking back at itself in the mirror. Quite interesting. And it looks like it's just it's the Matterport camera from their website. It's a big, square, boxy thing. and it is set up on a tripod. So there's no magic here. They just drag the camera through the house, set it up strategically at different spots, and that lets them do what they need to do with it. Again, there is a link to that, or if you want to find it online, you can actually Google, I would Google Inman Redfin 3D virtual tours. I bet that'll take you to the page. And again, Inman has a really wonderful walkthrough right on the page. So let me close that down so that we can kind of go back to some of the questions that we have about this. But before we do those questions, I am going to take a very quick commercial break. According to the National Association of Realtors, only 10% of agents complete an amazing 90% of all transactions because they have a coach. If you want the production and performance that comes with being a top producer, then you need one too. Not just any coach, but the leaders in coaching today, Tim and Julie Harris. Don't just take our word for it. Listen to what HGTV star and Atlanta top producer Colette McDonald has to say.
Hi, my name is Colette McDonald, and I'm with RE/MAX in Atlanta, Georgia. I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to Tim and Julie Harris. I've been a coaching client of theirs for the last 4 years. When I first started in this business 12 years ago, I was very successful, did a great amount of business, averaged between $8 and $10 million a year. When I contracted with Tim and Julie to be my graduate level coaches, my production increased by 20% per year. I am now trending $30 million this year. That's amazing results over 4 years of working with Tim and Julie Harris. I highly recommend them. Tiger Woods has a coach. And why does he have a coach? Because he can't see his swing. If you do what they tell you to, you will see huge results. I am living proof.
Only Tim and Julie Harris provide powerful one-on-one coaching along with all the lead generation systems, scripts, presentations, team building, and business planning tools you need to dominate your real estate market. We offer affordable pricing with no long-term contracts, and our entire coaching staff are trained professional agents with top producing track records. Take action now and visit us online at freecoachingcallsforagents.com to schedule your free coaching call. There's no risk, no obligation, just a free, personal, one-on-one call with a trained professional coach. Join the elite 10% of agents who make all the difference in today's market. Visit freecoachingcallsforagents.com to get started. Again, that's freecoachingcallsforagents.com. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Tim Ventura, filling in for Tim and Julie Harris. This is a very casual Friday on Real Estate Coaching Radio. We're talking about tech. We're talking about 3D virtual tours from Redfin and how this could fundamentally transform the buying experience. Now, as I mentioned in the Inman story, and again, there's a link to that in this show info, in the show page, Redfin is not the only company using this. There is at least one broker who's using the technology for theirs. And I think with technologies like this, just to stay competitive, once a company like Redfin rolls this out and it really starts to catch on, then, of course, everybody else has to kind of keep up with the Joneses, right? That makes complete logical sense. So this has the possibility, I think, to fundamentally transform the industry. I guess there are just a couple of thoughts here. Number one, videos are something that not everybody does, walkthrough videos. And so, this could help add another avenue for people who just don't feel comfortable doing a walkthrough video. Like I said earlier, maybe they don't feel comfortable delivering their lines or giving an on-air description of it, or what have you, whatever that goes into making whatever goes into making a video. So if you don't feel like doing a video, you could do one of these instead. And again, it empowers the user to walk through the house. And the whole thing is a heck of a lot more interactive and much more immersive than just photos. Now, there are some advantages to just photos. As a listing agent, you can show up, snap a couple of photos, you're done, right? And I know that I've just made that seem a lot easier than it probably is. But the general idea is you can do photos as a listing agent without having to bring in a lot of other folks. And that's a big thing compared to this. Unfortunately, it looks like this is something that may require some training and may require a little bit of expertise and definitely some financial outlay to get involved with. But it could also be a transformative thing for the industry, much in the same way that video walkthroughs have been, but also by adding yet another piece to take all of this stuff virtual. Okay, so I guess one of the things that I had a bunch of questions about this, and I'll rattle some of these off and maybe prognosticate a little bit for you on what this means. This technology has actually been around for quite a while. You know, if you're looking at that virtual walkthrough right now and you're like, wow, that's amazing, again, you have seen the same thing in Google Earth, Google Maps, Street View, technologies like that. So this stuff has been out there. What this company has done, this Matterhorn company, what they've done is take this technology and bring it indoors for the interior view of the house. And so that's the transformative thing. You know, Google Street View, more or less, already does something at least somewhat similar for the exterior, right? It doesn't do a complete walk around, but you get kind of a nice, relatively, I would say relatively immersive experience there on the outside with Google Street View. Well, these guys have taken that indoors. And that's no small thing because there are a lot of details indoors. You've got all sorts of potential issues with lighting, with clutter, with stuff like that you probably just don't have outside. So there's definitely some work that's involved there. But the technology has been around for quite a while. What these folks have done is managed to kind of package that for real estate agents and brokerages, put it together in a way that makes it accessible for you, and then they are working on getting it out there so that you can put that online for buyers. You know, so again, it's a fundamental empowering thing. When I lived in Seattle, this was many years ago, 14 years ago now, we actually had, I believe it was John L. Scott, they had a Java applet-based 3D virtual photo tour of the house. Theirs was obviously 14 years ago, nowhere near as good as this is. But they did have that where they had their listing photos, and next to that they said, take a virtual tour of this house. You click on the button, and it takes a couple of minutes to load, and then you have an interior virtual tour. And we used that at the time, and we absolutely loved it. But one of the limitations there was it wasn't truly immersive. It wasn't the kind of thing where you can lose yourself in it. I'm not sure if that completely makes sense, but I mean, there's a difference between looking at a 3D picture and kind of being immersed in it, right, where you feel like you're actually there. And from using this tool, from the tool that's demonstrated in this Inman story, I'll tell you, it's immersive. It feels like you're inside the house. And that, I think, is transformative, you know. So I guess the question is this going to be a big competitive advantage for agents? One of the things that we're seeing, and I think this comes full circle back to the Zillow Trulia thing, is that feature for feature, so many of these listings nowadays, are just competing and being syndicated and being shuffled around back and forth, right? That it's almost becoming a commodity, the home listing as commodity. And so in terms of competitive advantage, I think it helps to be able to have something that say, our listings are better because they're going to draw you in and we're going to sell the sizzle of this home. In terms of taking the listing, in terms of getting the listing, definitely there's a selling point there to be able to, to show them maybe some of the listings you've done in the past that use this and say, well, wouldn't you like to have this, But from a brokerage perspective, too, to be able to reach out to buyers and say, look, we are really invested in showing you what these homes look like, to show you what it feels to be inside this home, and you can do that all from the convenience of your computer. That's something, I think, that goes above and beyond these Zillow, Trulia swapping around listing details garbage that's been consuming the industry, because I think that's what it really is. What they've done is, unfortunately, it's gone from being a thing where it's agent-centric, seller-centric, right, where it's focused on you reaching out with information. It's gone to just being another log on the pile. It's how many syndicated listings do we have versus how many syndicated listings do you have? Our data has 20% fewer errors. Our data is 15% newer. Well, that's wonderful, right? Great stuff. But it's boring as heck. What you want to be able to do is show a home in a way that excites people about it. They want to be able to say, you know what, if I spend God knows amount how much money on this thing, if I make the biggest purchase that anyone makes in their life for this enormous, beautiful home, I want to feel like this is it. This is the best expenditure of money I could make, And this 3D technology, I think, is a big step along the way towards helping to convey that. I think that this potentially could be as big as having photos in a listing. This could be the next step. I think that it could actually be bigger than doing video because, again, video is plagued by all sorts of bandwidth issues, and this lets you do that high quality for everyone, as opposed to high quality for only a few people, So in terms of competitive advantage, yes, I think that this will be a giant competitive advantage for anybody who uses it. You can go to Zillow and sort through, 6 million listings on their site, but if you see listings with this, you're going to actually get more information. It's going to draw you in. Now, can other brokerages compete with Redfin on this? Will this end up being like a website plug-in, right? What immediately came to my mind was, IDX feeds. Everybody has an IDX feed. This Matterhorn, since it's a cloud-based system, maybe this will end up being like that. Maybe it'll be like your IDX feed, where you subscribe to it, they give you some code, you plug that into your website, and bada boom, bada bing. If that 3D map is there, it automatically displays it right in your listing. That would be very nice. That would let everyone have this Redfin-style detail for their listings, So I don't think it's going to be limited to Redfin in any way. As the article said, there are at least 2 or 3 other 3D virtual tour companies out there building and developing this. Matterhorn looked interesting to me for a couple of reasons. Now, one of the things that this does require is a proprietary 3D camera and software for Matterhorn. You set the camera up, spin it around, and then the software stitches together everything to make big 3D digital pictures. The idea is not new. The challenge has been refining the software to make it look good and feel good, and that is probably what's taken years and years. The camera is not cheap. $4,500 for a camera, and it's $50 to $150 a month for this cloud-based service that they provide. And I believe you're getting like up to 100 to 300 listings stored on their system. And that may increase over time as their service kind of gets broken in and the costs go down and all that. So it's not dirt cheap, but as a marketing expense, that's not horribly bad. The other thing that goes into that is the time investment and the training. Because I'll tell you, setting up and stitching together 3D cameras, doing the floor plan and all that kind of stuff, that's the kind of thing where I think a lot of agents might not feel completely comfortable doing it. And that was one of the areas that I was looking at going, well, is this going to open up a new industry for local service providers to do this for you? That might be the best of all worlds. instead of you having to front the cost of the storage and all that, maybe somebody does it for everybody in your area, and then you just have an account that you pay for or something like that. They come out and do all the work, you know. That would make it easier for you as a listing agent because you could do all of the paperwork, you could do all of basically, you know, getting that seller ready, and then you just have somebody come in, do the photos, and you don't even have to probably be there for it, although it would probably be a wise decision if you were. So there's money that goes into this. There may be a lot more money than people think. If you have to have somebody come out and do it for you, that cost might end up being a lot higher than $150 a month. But I guess the per unit cost is what matters. And if you're, you know, if your sales volume increases appreciably, then maybe it's well worth that cost. Another thing I'd wondered about is, will this add a new level of pre-listing photography prep, cleanup for the house? You know, that to me, that was quite interesting because, you know, when you're photographing a listing, right, there's always stuff to focus on and stuff to kind of avoid. And if you're lucky, the house is clean enough that you can just point and shoot wherever you want to. But odds are there are some things when you're turning that camera around that you really don't want to catch on film, you know. You know, if the house is lived in, maybe you'll have bits and pieces, odds and ends that they forgot to clean up or they just don't look right, or maybe it's a half-painted counter that you really don't want, you know, who knows. Whatever it is, there are things in the house that you may not want to photograph. With this, you're capturing everything, and so any flaws that are there are going to show up. That might cause some challenges. Now, if it's a new construction home, hey, no worries. But if it's a home that's been lived in, if you have to do 4 or 5 different angles and they're all 360 degrees, then you might run into some issues. So that may add, at the very least, a new level of cleanup to get everything spotless. And at most, that could end up being prohibitive for, you know, your normal average house that goes on the market, you know, unless they want to just completely clean and scrub every square inch of that surface, because this camera looks like it captures everything. Another thing that I'd wondered about was photography fraud. I think that this technology may cut down on fraud substantially. Now, this is something I don't have a lot of expertise on, but just like everybody else, I have read that there are agents out there who Photoshop their images. I use Photoshop on almost a daily basis for marketing work, for various things that we do with Tim and Julie Harris, and I'll tell you, it's amazing what you can do with it. Now, in our case, we're not doing that kind of work, but I could see how an agent who was motivated, who wanted to, raise that value, who wanted to gain more conversions, they could modify that with Photoshop quite easily and make these houses look cleaner. Well, the photos that the Matterhorn camera takes and the stitching and everything that goes into it, that adds a new level of complexity. I don't think that you can just pop those open in Photoshop and clean them up like you used to be able to. So that may reduce fraud for the industry, and that would be a big thing. That would put people on a more level playing field. So you'd have to do a lot more prep on the front end, and it would give you less opportunity for digital cleanup on the back end. There are a couple of downsides there. But again, the major upside is it gives you a total digital panoramic 360-degree walkthrough of this tool. This could start to fundamentally change the listing process too. I think that this is a signal that in the 21st century, the listing process will be getting more and more complex. There will be more technical components going into it, and that may start to put it outside of the realm of the standard for sale by owner. I mean, in the past, if you're doing a for sale by owner, right, there are some things that you can't do that only an agent can do in terms of putting stuff into the MLS, but anybody can go out and take a few photos of a house. But technology like this, and the video walkthrough might be an equivalent of that, once you start to get into stuff like this, all of a sudden you're stepping outside of stuff that your normal, average, run-of-the-mill person can just step in and do. So it starts to change things. Again, there's a cost for this as well. $4,500 for the camera, $50 to $150 a month for the service. So it's interesting. I would absolutely recommend taking a look at that Inman article, do the walkthrough of the house, and if you're interested in doing 3D floor plans, the Inman article lists a couple of different competitors that do it, as well as Matterhorn, and I would take a look at how you might be able to integrate that into your website. I know that if I was a buyer, for me, this would be a game changer. It sells the sizzle of the home. So that's it for today, everyone. I want to thank you for staying with me. And if you want to schedule a free coaching call, again, check out freecoachingcallsforagents.com. I'm on that page, as well as Tim and Julie. Take a look at our redesigned website at timandjulieharris.com. And thank you again. Tim and Julie Harris will talk to you on Monday.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows. And until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.